Hey, what's up? Mikey here. I've got a guest with me.
Hello, how is everyone doing? My name is Pat Hazard. Some audience members might know me from way back when I did a show called Hazard Rants, and right now I just sort of do miscellaneous things.
And he and I went and saw Transcendence.
Yes, indeed we have. What an interesting film indeed, sir. Do you want to start off with the summary if we could for the this thing?
The basic version of it is Johnny Depp plays like a super genius computer expert guy.
With a speech impediment.
And what happens is he almost dies. So his wife puts his brain into a test AI program computer.
Right. And then from there, the plot sort of just goes insane with the concept of basically when uploading a conscience, does it actually become a conscious anymore? Am I correct? That's kind of what they were playing with.
Well, it's basically they start with the question of at the beginning, does Johnny Depp's character Will Castor is he trying to create God? Basically,
Right. To which I believe his response is, "Well, don't we always try to create God?" Which I don't know about you, but that's kind of a ballsy statement. I mean, there's the ways in which people go to create their own myths, but I've never been known to someone to create like a physical manifestation of God. I don't think that's actually been something attempted before.
but I can understand what he was implying with that statement.
True, true. I can definitely understand that. We should also say that we we didn't entirely hate this film.
It's I'll just come out and say it. It wasn't a very good movie.
It wasn't a very good movie, but it wasn't entirely a horrible film.
It's a
Where
movie where I can see what they were going for. It just wasn't executed as well.
oh no, yeah, I was saying it before when I was driving home with my girlfriend was as soon as we started out with the guy shoving a piece of laptop underneath they were showing all these scenes spoilers. They were yeah.
It's I'm not sure how it spoils because we're talking about what is literally the first scene of the movie.
Yeah, literally the first scene of the film is it shows this whole entire sort of landscape of I believe it was supposed to be San Francisco, and it's a I guess what they consider it a post-apocalyptic San Francisco, except it's not really post-apocalyptic.
I was getting flashbacks. Did you see that episode of South Park where the internet goes down?
No, or maybe a little bit. I might have caught a little bit of it. Like, does Stan Marsh set up like a hunting party or something?
What he does is he moves his family out to California because they have like a small amount of internet there for some reason.
Oh, right, 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 right. Okay. But yeah, as soon as I saw someone shove a piece of laptop underneath a door to prop it open, it was supposed to be insinuating, oh, technology is dead and it's obsolete and everyone's sort of living off the land now. And it's one of those things I was like, oh, it's gonna be one of these movies where it's very heavy-handed and metaphorical and a what if scenario.
On the positive side, it was a very well shot movie.
Oh yeah, I was fantastic. It was definitely well shot. The locations were pretty interesting. I generally because I think most of the final act of the film was actually that whole entire area was built strictly for that film, which was very cool to me.
Well shot movie, but pacing is a problem with it.
Oh, believe me. One thing I learned from film school when I was in film school was that you only revert to subtitles for dates or months or passages of time if you can't convey it through the imagery.
We're gonna, I guess, go slightly into spoiler territory at
Yeah,
this point.
slightly territory.
So, but the short version is still not not good enough for not good enough as a
Hmm?
movie. As the
Not good enough as a movie. Yeah.
Okay, so now we can go. Now let's go for spoilers, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, so the movie is supposed to take place in, I guess, which is supposed to be taking place now, like in our time.
How it's set up, because we discussed the opening scene takes place apparently 5 years in the future, and then the
Right.
rest of the movie is a flashback, basically explaining how we got to basically no electricity, no internet and stuff.
That's the whole sub basis of it, is like, this is how this is the outcome. Now let's see how it happened. That was my first big issue with it, is it doesn't actually date itself, because it's showing these really quick advancements in technology that some of it is probable, but then there's stuff that's highly improbable.
We're supposed to buy that they built this massive facility in the middle of desert world. Brightwood, that was the place, but it's the desert.
It's the desert.
But there's like this. They state that it's a 5-story complex, and
I don't think it's even a 5-story complex. I believe
5-story
it's,
underground complex.
yeah, 5 stories underground, which is just insane in most other parts, because it's like, how did, that would take like at least 5 years to excavate, then bury again, and they somehow did it in about a year span.
Yeah, you don't get the sense of suddenly we're months ahead in time.
Right.
It's just suddenly like we go from he's suddenly become internet techno guy,
Right.
and then minutes later they have this big facility.
They have this big facility,
And then more minutes later is when we get the sign that says 2 years later.
yeah, 2 years later, and it's like, everyone still looks the same. What? Yeah, no, it was definitely kind of very weird, odd passages of time. And I'd have to say, like, the other big things that I had a issue with was that, like, none of the characters seemed to show any growth. Even Mr. Computer Guy, who, would be the only person who doesn't show growth. They just everyone I don't know. Yeah, it's one of those movies where it's really hard to wrap around, like, what exactly worked and what exactly didn't work.
It's just it's just not enough of it worked for us to know that it worked.
Right. Because there was bits and pieces where I could get the message that it was trying to convey. Because a lot of it, like, there's a resistance group called Rift in the movie.
The Rift is the main source of the original conflict of the movie.
It's the original conflict. They're the original antagonists.
They're a terrorist group. Rift stands for something. I don't remember what it does, though.
Right. Basically,
They're the ones who shot Will Castor, Johnny Depp's character,
yeah.
and laced it with radiation bullets that only gives him a month to live.
It's just plot convenience, the bullet. And yeah, because, that's totally how it works, is that the bullets were laced with a radioactive substance that, once in the blood, gives the person several weeks to live, because the radiation poisoning is poisoning your blood. First of all, I don't think that's how it works.
I can't comment on that because I'm not an expert in that field. So
I'm not an expert in that field either, so I can't really say, like, radiation poison, when it's in the blood.
But if there's something that I can comment on the thought of, even if I'm not an expert in the field, it was the resolution.
Yes. The fact of the matter is, the resolution is that, in the end, Johnny Depp ends up getting unplugged, and by that point he was connected to all the internet.
So their answer to how to stop him is to upload a virus that shuts down all of the internet and electricity.
Just listen to that phrase, though. Shut down all the internet. Like, that's not how it works. I mean, the internet is just an interconnected weaving of servers and such, but there's off-source servers that don't really connect to things. There's people with bus power. It was in a probable future where everything, for some reason, was connected to the internet. Your car was connected to the internet. The electricity that supplied even the smallest, tiniest town in Montana was connected to the internet somehow. And that just shut down the planet, apparently. It was highly improbable because I'm like, I'm not a Y2K buff or anything, but I'm pretty.
Except they reference Y2K in this movie. That's
Yeah, they
another thing.
did. They called it the Y2K bomb, which was, I believe, it was Morgan Freeman's character that referenced it, right?
I don't think it was Morgan Freeman. I think it was FBI agent Buchanan. I think that was his name.
Oh, okay, Scarecrow, FBI agent Scarecrow. I'm sorry, that's the only role I know him in, so I refer to him as Scarecrow. That and Red Eye. So, but yeah, like they reference Y2K, which by the way never happened. That was just extreme or sensationalist BS. But it just like the resolution, and like I said, the whole point of the film is about unplugging oneself and creating a sanctuary where a lot of technology is not a distraction anymore. And how it starts off is that Johnny Depp's character and his wife, who's the woman who ends up uploading him, they were building sort of a garden sanctuary that was also a cellular dead zone by rigging copper wiring to lattice. And apparently that caused a technological dead zone. And that would be their little sanctuary. Which, even in my standards, is a little confusing to me. I don't know. It's trying to wrap your head around something like this movie is hard to explain. I'm trying to process words, and I'm trying to process my thoughts on this film. Because, I mean, there was a time where I wanted to unplug, but like, the people the Rift people who were like, you should unplug because it'll shut everything down, for some reason, it just seemed like their motive was completely wrong. And
it's more of we don't really know what the reasons for their motive. They're just like, AI is bad.
Right. They like feared technology to a point where, they were living in squalor where they would only have one guy with one computer, which by the way is technology. They would use guns, which was technology. If they were truly someone who was anti-technology, was an anti-militant group technology, they wouldn't be using anything other than bows and arrows. But that didn't seem to be the case.
I don't think they were. I'm not sure if they were anti-technology. I think they were just anti-artificial intelligence. Yeah, I think that was like their main like thing they were against at the point. Except it kind of just falls to the wayside after he uploads himself to the internet.
Right, because he was so easily uploaded to the internet. He was uploaded via satellite BTW, which, that works. But not to mention, mainly the only person who was anti-AI, she served no purpose other than to be terrified of everything.
This is the Rift leader.
The Rift leader, who I've called Wall-Eyed McBlonde Pants, because she literally had only two modes of acting in this film, which was try to look intimidating but can't, which includes don't blink at all in a scene, or look terrified and don't blink. Both times, she looked more robotic than Johnny Depp's character. It was really weird and odd, her choice of acting for this film. Not to mention they, kidnapped one of Johnny Depp's friends.
For 2 years.
Yeah, for 2 years. 2 years! 2 years that no one goes and looks for this dude. Did anybody recognize that? No one went to look for him. Literally, he was shooed out, immediately kidnapped. No one looked for him. Not the FBI agent, not freaking... I'm trying to think of his name. It was not the FBI agent, not Morgan Freeman's character, not even robotic Johnny Depp. No one looked for him. They're just like, oh, okay, he's just gone off the grid. La-da-da-da-da. We were all going off on our own subplots. Second of all, Morgan Freeman's character does not serve the plot at all. He serves no purpose in this film.
He's kind of there as like a middleman. between the people who want to do the AI and our terrorist riff group.
But so is Paul Bettany's character, technically. I mean, he becomes more of the Rift Group in general.
Because he gets kidnapped by them.
Yeah, but he's technically supposed to be the middleman as well. I don't know. It's just like, yeah.
So, overall for the movie. Well shot.
Hmm.
Pretty good score.
I like the score because I'm a sucker for Chinese bowls, Chinese bell bowls. I love that sound. It's just hypnotic.
Yeah, but the story and the pacing.
The story, the pacing, and the casting were all off.
So, overall, I can't say it was worth seeing.
I would say if it comes out on Netflix, maybe one night just go ahead and watch it just because it's something to watch.
Well, sure, I'll go with that, but we saw this in theaters in IMAX.
Yeah, no, definitely not worth the ticket price.
Okay, so this has been Mikey.
And this has been Pat Hazard.
Thanks for listening.